Happy
Thank you.
Epstein-Files Day.
Epstein-Files Day. Every day is Epstein-Files Day, Rosa. It has been for 10 years of us doing these podcasts. And Ed Luce, who, Rosa, I don't know if you noticed this, but Ed is somehow on the inside of the inside. Because, he's like one of
I've
those
always
journalists.
suspected that.
No, no, he is.
The
But like
deepest deep state.
this morning, I pick up my newspaper. Well, metaphorically, I don't actually get newspapers. And there's an article in the FT saying the Epstein files are not going away. And tick fucking tock. What do you know? An hour later, they're back. What did you know, Ed? What did you
Uh,
know?
this is the thing. I didn't know or need to know anything more than what anyone else knows, even though I wasn't aware that this dump was about to come um, this morning from the House Oversight Committee. It's just kind of obvious the government shutdown's ending. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a very unlikely and very temporary person that I'm wishing all the best to, is not going away either. And she's got the bit between her teeth, and I think she can read MAGA since she's pitching for post-Trump MAGA leadership. I think she can read MAGA pretty well. So my conclusion was before any of this came out that this is good timing with the government shutdown ending to remind Trump that Epstein's not going away.
Uh, yeah, Rose, I was on a somebody else's podcast earlier today because that's really what I do. I don't actually exist. I live in the
You don't
matrix.
exist in
The
real life. You just exist on
not in
screen.
exactly streaming Dave, but I was thinking, there've been a lot of great sleaze bags in history. Henry VIII. Sorry, so sorry, Ed. But
I'm glad
Bluebeard.
you've cast back for royalty in times past.
Well, that's true. We have Prince Andrew, but there's
But
Bluebeard.
we have the Andrew formerly known as the Prince.
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
thank you.
that's good. True. What is his? What do we call him? Andrew Windsor or something like that? What is his like name now?
Oh, some Mountbatten, Windsor, Batten von Berg, whatever.
Look, if you're born a prince, you get to have a lot of names. It's one of the
That's
prerogatives,
good.
perks of royalty is having many, many names.
That's so cool. But in any event, there are all these little sleazebags through history, but none of them were chosen by people to be their leader. But all this stuff about Trump and Epstein, we knew this 10 years ago, and he's been chosen twice. I mean, he's been accused by 24 women of being a sleazebag. He's been found by courts to be liable for his sleazery. He embraces it. He boasts. You could watch him on videotape saying, well, my daughter, she's kind of hot. Or my daughter told me I shouldn't date anybody younger than her, and she was 17 at the time, which was the age of consent in New York. And somehow the American people twice have said, yeah, that's the guy we want to be the face of our nation, the person who represents us to the world. Do you think that has any repercussions internationally as a specialist?
To whom are you posing this question, David?
Well, to you, to
Oh,
you, Rosa.
um,
I
you
spoke to
know,
Ed first there. I was trying to go
nah, I'm
back
sure
and
everybody
forth.
thinks it's fine. I'm sure everybody thinks it's completely normal and fine. And I'm sure
That's
the
the
artist
problem.
formerly known as Prince Andrew thought it was completely normal and fine. I mean, I do think one of just in terms of the domestic dynamic, right, that we have a MAGA is divided between those who are just all in on whatever crass, illegal, horrific brutality and bullying and corruption Trump displays, and those who don't like it, but have managed to come up with, one of the most impressive forms of cognitive dissonance ever, which is, the Lord works through flawed vessels. And yes, this is all yucky and disgusting, but this is just sometimes that's what the Lord does. He gives you good things in a yucky, disgusting package, and that's just what it is. I mean, but it is pretty mind blowing to me. I I'm old enough to remember when we had debates about character for presidents, and when Bill Clinton when Republicans thought Bill Clinton didn't have the character needed to be president because of what happened with Monica Lewinsky, with which I personally agree, as a matter of fact. I mean, I think it
Yeah,
was
I was about to
disgusting
say
behavior.
maybe a bad example since he's undoubtedly there in the Epstein-Files, and they were
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah.
right. He didn't have the
No, that's
character.
absolutely right. Well, and withholding judgment on what Clinton did or didn't do with Jeffrey Epstein and his little pals, what Clinton clearly did do with Monica Lewinsky was exploitative. You know, it was not only obviously was he cheating on his wife, the long-suffering Hillary Clinton, but it was incredibly exploitative. It was an abuse of power. Um, uh, in terms of Monica Lewinsky, who is very, very young, she's above the age of consent, legally speaking, but the power differential between the president of the United States and I forget what she was, 21, 22, 23, an intern in the White House was stunning. And you know, that being said, the Republicans lost their shit, right? They completely lost their shit. They impeached him for that. And, you know, he was already in office, and they tried to impeach him for that. And they said correctly that character should be somewhat relevant to whether you're suited to be the president of the United States. I think in terms of the international impact, I just your question is it's I know your question is kind of a rhetorical question, David. Like, does
Yeah,
the
it
rest of
was
the
a little
world
bit.
respect us for having elected Donald Trump not once but twice? Well, actually, the answer to that one would be a big resounding no, and the Epstein files are kind of the least of it.
Yeah, well, that's true. But the Epstein files are linked to your broader issue, which is that character does matter. And when people have deeply flawed character or are criminals or are sexual predators and criminals and serial liars, it does matter. But Ed, apropos of MTG, um, you know, one thing that strikes me here is that the Republicans were willing to hold their nose and defend Donald Trump so long as they felt that he was the ticket. That if you were going to go and you wanted to be in Republican politics, you needed to back Donald Trump. But of course, now he's 80 years old. He's a lame duck. He's losing it. He's not going to be able to help them. The last election a week ago showed that, he's pretty badly thought of. The next election may render him completely irrelevant. And isn't this just, I mean, and unfortunately for Donald Trump, the Epstein thing and a bunch of others, his corruption linger. And at a certain point, it'll become convenient for a variety of people in the GOP to say, huh, maybe we made a misjudgment there. Isn't this just the kind of a crack that is like the political clock going tick tock?
I mean, it could be. And so I'm very careful to pass, what I hope is analysis from wishful thinking in my head. I mean, I think if you're going to pick up on Rosa's very good Clinton point, I think there's clearly a through line there between Clinton and Trump, which is the American people didn't sort of downgrade Clinton's approval ratings because of Monica Lewinsky, not much and not for long. And in Trump's first term, none of these revelations really downgraded him. I think partly because people don't expect much from their leaders, including integrity, but partly because the economies were good in the late 90s and for most of Trump's first term. But it isn't now. And whilst I can't see MAGA fully turning on Trump, really, almost under any circumstances, it's cultist. I do think that Trump is losing control of his succession, of nominating who his replacement will be, and that is a key. It's his ultimate insurance to leave office, knowing that he'll be safe. And if he can't fully control, the naming his successor, well, that's a loss of quite a lot of power. And his right now his most brazen challenger is the ultra Trumpian Marjorie Taylor Greene. So
She's
we're
lost her
beginning to
way.
see.
She's lost her way.
She's lost her way. She used to be a good sort, and now she's wandering in the desert. But she's not. Well, I was about to say she's not stupid. She is, of course, stupid. I don't want to be rhetorical here.
No, I mean, she's, stupid like a fox. I don't know that she's stupid at all, actually, right? She may be a great deal smarter than the rest of us, in terms of the degree of power and influence she's gaining.
I think you can be cunning and stupid.
Okay.
You can inhabit contradictions.